welcome in, folks. Sorry, we're trying to link all these accounts. It's not going very well. For some reason, it is what it is. But welcome into the Week 8 Waiver Wire Show, the must-add waiver wires of the week. I am with not only Jeremy, also with SC. So 3 of the 4 amigos are here today. How are you guys doing?
Yeah,
good, man.
Good, man.
Halfway through the season and injuries happen. So, this is what the waivers are for, right? So hopefully you're tuning in because we got some guys #check waivers because you never know who's available.
Right. It's especially like some of these deeper leagues. There's a lot of players available. Like I saw certain leagues where Ricky Pearsall was available, certain leagues where Jauan Jennings was available, Ricky Pearsall was taken. So it's really very much league dependent. I know we'll get comments like, oh, he's not available in my league. It's like, okay, well, we're not making this content for you individually. Hopefully it suits everyone. But I think it's a pretty fun and exciting week overall, particularly with all the we can hit on the wide receiver injuries. Like Chris Godwin's done for the year. Mike Evans is done for, I don't know, a month maybe, because that looked like a severe hamstring injury, right? So that's going to shoot those guys up in Tampa Bay. And then San Francisco, the only healthy wide receiver that's all in the roster right now is Ricky Pearsall. Jauan Jennings is dealing with hip injury, so it's just it's pretty much just chaotic for a wide receiver. I think there's only 8 wide receivers are averaging 13 points per game or something. It's just nuts out of wide receivers this year. But yeah, I guess we can just hop right into it.
But Jesse, that is some intense Jacob Cowing slander right there that you're throwing out in San Francisco.
He's had 2 snaps all year and he's been healthy. Yeah,
he had 2 catches last week. Come on now.
Yeah, no, he's getting on the field. It's just I had someone make this point to me. It's Jacob Cowing's the guy to own, and I'm like, what are you talking about? He's a special teamer. He's slot only. He's limited in what he could do. Sure. The addition of Pearsall gives you more flexibility. I like Cowing. I liked him as a prospect. He's small. He's not super elusive on top of it. He's kind of like Rondale Moore, and that's the way he's going to be used. So I think if anyone expects Cowing to be the targeter in that offense, I would heavily check that. But yeah, he's got potential. So yeah, I would say in deep leagues, 16, 13 team leagues, fire a shot for him. Go get him. See if it works out because we know Shanahan's offense.
And if you watched Arizona, though, Cowing ate because Tech McMillan was able to get above the defenses. So in a sense, sorry about that, guys. In a sense, if that happens, that can be something beneficial for him as well, where he can, eat underneath and you have Ricky Pearsall eat up top. So
100%. And you notice his ADOT dramatically decreased when he went from UTEP to Arizona. Because guess what? Tech McMillan is a big boy NFL wide receiver. UTEP, they had nobody there. He was the entire offense. They were playing really bad defenses, right? So he was able to go downfield. When he went to Arizona, he became this slot possession wide receiver. And yeah, he's fast, but he's small. So I like what he can be, but yeah, my expectations are not super high for Jacob Cowing, unfortunately. Yeah. Even though I liked him as a prospect. I think he's more special teams of that nature. All right. Do you guys want to talk about quarterbacks or do you guys want to hit on wide receivers since we're talking about wide receivers?
Start with quarterbacks, man. Quarterbacks
is
always fun.
All right. So the hot name, who is basically the guy on top of our YouTube video and on our article for quarterbacks in deeper leagues, is Drake May. He's currently rostered in 25% of leagues, so he barely hits the cutoff for the quote unquote deep leagues. I was cheating a little bit by putting him in there, but we've had 2 games. Jacksonville is an auto start for quarterbacks. He was great, really good against the Texans. Put up 20 points, so basically back-to-back 20-point games. I think what he does is he gives you a potential for season-long output. I think if you're looking for this week, Bo Nix and Russell Wilson are much better targets because you have Carolina defense. Bo Nix is going to put up points in that. So if you're looking for somebody to start this week, I don't mind going Bo Nix or Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson just had a great game. But season long, I'm just betting on the talent of Drake May. In that range of players, I'll kind of give you guys a couple other players we had. Jameis Winston's at 3%. Derek Carr's back at 18%. Bo Nix is at 22%. Russell Wilson's at 13%. Is there, I guess for you guys, is Drake May the guys you guys are targeting, or do you prefer Wilson, or do you prefer Nix, or maybe someone else outside that list?
It's really hard because Russell Wilson looked really good against help me who they played last week because I know it wasn't it's a tough task. Yeah, against the Jets secondary, who Drake May now will play this coming week. But the Jets secondary I was actually just busy trying to look it up. I know there are multiple injuries in that secondary. The Jets were not who they usually are on defense last week. They may not be that again. But outside of that, for Drake May, the schedule doesn't line up and look really good. It does kind of look really good for Russell Wilson. So you're weighing what do we think these guys are going to produce against these matchups versus the rushing floor that Drake May provides, even if he's going to provide some inconsistency with his arm and with turnovers, versus how good is Russell Wilson really. So it's kind of neck and neck to me. I lean May because of that rushing upside, but it's really tough. If you look at Wilson's schedule, it's sweet.
Yeah, it's interesting with the Jets. I'll say they're bottom 12 in defensive DVOA, which is probably the biggest surprise of the year. Like, they just haven't been that good. And they've been getting gashed lately, and in particular the injuries you mentioned. Like, I think this matchup is not as bad as people expect it to be. When you get carved up for 37 points by the Pittsburgh Steelers, like, that is alarming, where it's like, hey, guess what? You're going to score. So, SC, how are you feeling about this matchup? And in particular, are you pushing your way other way, or are you going for Drake May?
I mean, I like Drake May. I think what New England did with them is a testament to what majority of teams should do with their rookie quarterbacks, right? He was a top pick, and they didn't start him out the gate. They said, hey, we're going to start Brissett. And we all knew May was the guy, but they said, hey, you know what? We're going to start this guy. We're going to let you get acclimated to the NFL, see what the actual teams are looking like, get, practices under your belt and continue to do it, not just within training camp, actually get our in-scheme, in-game practices going on so you actually kind of get a feel for how this offense is going to run when we actually play these games, not just running scenarios in camp, right? This is actually, we're now adjusting to game film and watching these opposing teams to see what you can do. So I really love what they did. For that reason, I'm buying him. I know the receivers, aren't as great, but I definitely think if you can get him, he's definitely going to be someone that is consistent. He has a good running game to him as well. Everything in New England screams this hurts because his weapons around him aren't great. But in that sense, though, they want to build around Drake May. So they're going to find ways to get the receivers open, whether it be Hunter Henry even. Hunter Henry is a great target as well. But also you could bring in Ramondre, Antonio Gibson. They have a lot of backs there as well. One of the receivers is going to end up stepping up. If they bring back in their veterans, who knows? Maybe they go and get a deadline guy and say, hey, Drake, we're going to get you a guy now, right? So biggest thing, though, I mean, as a rookie, the upside's there. He's shown some rushing abilities. He's shown some abilities to extend plays and get his guys open. So I think you can buy on him. Russell Wilson over him. Only thing that scares me about Russell Wilson is we know Justin Fields is still back there. So if Russell Wilson has a bad week, you possibly spent your fab on the guy that may get benched again, rather than we know there's no reason for them to bench him. It's like at this point, just ride him and see what it is, win or lose. And you don't have the team already, so you're just going to see what he can do. So I think in that sense, May has more of a little bit upside over him than Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I agree. And there's both good points for both players. Like Russell Wilson, the play action was going bananas. They were 10 for 13, 160 yards, 1 touchdown. That's something Justin Fields has struggled with throughout this season. And Russell Wilson, they want to run the play action offense, so I think he fits that skill set a little bit better. And it makes sense why they prefer him. But on the flip side, you have Drake May, who compared to Jacoby Brissett on air yards of 10-plus yards, he's 33rd in the NFL. Drake May came in, and he is top 10. He's third overall. And, passes traveling plus 10. I can't talk right now, so sorry. But he just increases the offensive catchable target rate. So I think they both have things that they do differently, which improve those offenses. So I like both of those. You could also do Bo Nix because he's a mobile quarterback. And we like mobile quarterbacks for this reason. The floor is higher. Obviously, we thought that with Anthony Richardson. It's not working out very well. But if you're able to actually have a decent passing game, which Drake May has shown he could do, Bo Nix can do enough. I do worry about Nix because a couple weeks ago, he had 22 passing yards and a half. If you're getting shut down that bad and you're not feasting in garbage time, I do worry a little bit because they just played the Saints, and the Saints are really pretty much just down bad right now. So I don't mind Nix as the third option. And then if you want to take a flyer on Jameis, I think Jameis is a fine option too because they're going to pass it a million times, right? And it's going to be super boom bust, so we'll see how it goes. I think we can go to the next level, the 26 through 50% rostered. The top guy I have is Tua Tagovailoa. Tua's QB9 last year. He's rostered 46% of leagues. It's a pretty easy way to talk yourself into Tua compared to some of these other quarterbacks. Some of the other guys I have listed, though, Trevor Lawrence at 47%, Matthew Stafford at 31%, Justin Herbert at 44%, and Daniel Jones at 22%, I think he's at. So are you guys willing to take a gamble on Tua, or do you prefer someone like Lawrence, Stafford, Herbert, or Daniel Jones?
Pass.
Yeah. I mean, it has to be Tua, man, but
yeah,
you can't fight this guy on his confidence and his determination to want to win. He has that, but man, when he gets rocked, he gets rocked. And another one like that is just super scary, right? It's his decision if he wants to play, and if he plays, the offense automatically just improves. And the guys you listed, Tua arguably, I don't even think arguably, Tua has the best rosters around him when it comes to as far as weapons, right? So he's easily the one over there, but it scares me to start him, man. When he plays good. But we don't have bounties on their heads, but guys are gonna try to knock him out, and they know they can. It's not even knock him out to get concussion. Not saying that, but they know they can get to him and knock him down, and that can just rattle him, and that can just shift the whole game mentality for him once he gets rattled again. So, at that point, I'd rather have May. I think so.
Yeah, I think that's the interesting thing is some of the I prefer May just because he's kind of the unknown. He's a highly touted prospect. He was basically doing this at North Carolina. He was the entire offense. Everything was dependent upon him. Compared to someone like Bo Nix, who really thrived in the Oregon scheme, and they highlighted some of his skill set. The Drake May was like, dude, just run this offense, carry it. So I think basically the difference for me over all of these guys, and you can make the case for Tua, and I like Lawrence as well too, because Lawrence is top 16 quarterback. He's solid. They're kind of dependent on him. It's kind of up or down, but Stafford, you just get no mobility. It's all passing touchdowns is what you need. And he's got minimal passing touchdowns. So I think that's the hard part with him. Same, Herbert's just weird. He's not scrambling, and that offense just does not produce fantasy points. So I don't really want to touch Herbert, which is weird to say. And Daniel Jones, he could get benched as well. They could move into the phase where the season's over and Drew Lock comes in and he runs a few games. So I think there's a lot of risk with that range. But even in week 1, Tua put up 338 yards and 1 touchdown against Jacksonville. Now it is the Jags, and it's the worst defense for fantasy points allowed. If you look at the schedule, it's just murderer's row of guys putting up 20, 30 points each week. So take it with a little caveat. But, you get Tyreek, you have Devontae Chan, you have Jalen Waddle. Jonnu Smith's getting involved. So it's a really good setup for him. So if you want to take the gamble onto it, I think it's a fair bet to make because that range or quarterbacks just kind of.
And just with Tua, I'm a little concerned that Miami does what they need to do and leans on the run game. So that's another consideration there. They have 3 viable backs, all of whom are healthy at the moment. And you're going to use Tyreek, you're going to use Waddle to an extent. But if Miami wants to win games, and they need to now, because I think they're 2-4 at the moment, they need to really lean into the run game, utilize the play action pass, get those guys deep. But yeah, we might see 300 yards again from Tua, but are we going to see multiple touchdowns? I don't know.
Yeah, right. They're only 1 game behind the Broncos in the loss record. So they're still within able to catch Denver. And I know people like the situation for Denver right now. They've had a pretty cakewalk schedule going on, what they're playing against. So I think it kind of shifts for them and goes that way. Let's jump into the shallower options. Usually this is the 50 to 75% roster. A lot of these guys are not available, but if they are, the guys you should grab. Caleb Williams is the top guy I have because the next 2 games are just fantasy points galore. It's Commanders and Cardinals defense back to back. That is locked in top 12 production. But outside of that, we have Geno Smith, who's at 63%, Sam Darnold at 68%, Aaron Rodgers at 53%, and Kirk Cousins 68%. I know we love Geno a lot. I'm a little bit concerned about the DK Metcalf situation because he might be out a month with that injury. So that's my concern with him. But Jeremy, also with you first, who are you targeting in that group of players?
Stop hating on Sam Darnold. If he is available, go get this man. He is currently in 4-point passing leagues. He's just the QB 17, but he's missed a game because of a bye week. But TJ Hawkinson is coming back. Aaron Jones is healthy. Everyone is healthy on that line, and their defense is starting to show signs that they're not this top unit that we were led to believe 5 weeks into the season, right? So granted, they played Detroit last week, and the schedule lines up where they do not face juggernaut offenses in the next 3 weeks. Still, I want Sam Darnold. I think they're going to absolutely crush through the air. Rams, Indy, Jacksonville, Tennessee, Arizona, Seattle. The schedule is beautiful for them. And I think Sam Darnold just starts to do again what he was doing at the beginning of the year, because this team wants to pass. They don't want to run the football.
It's a fun offense, right? It's the one thing that we just got news that Minnesota is interested in Matthew Stafford. So if that happens, you send him to the Rams, that situation deteriorates rather quickly. I like the Rams offensive pieces, but that line is a disaster. If he goes to the Rams and this trade happens, I want no part of Sam Darnold in LA because the turnovers are going to come heavily with Sam Darnold. That's the one concern with him. But if he's a starting quarterback in Minnesota, I think the floor is really high. What's interesting is he's not getting the touchdowns that he had earlier in the season. Similar to Baker, the touchdown rate was so high it had to regress. Now he's a middle of the pack quarterback where he's in the Caleb Williams range. Like Geno Smith's clearly above him for points per game. So I think it's interesting. My whole case for Caleb is he's the rookie. Like he's a fantastic prospect. He's coming on. He's making more plays. So with these next 2 weeks specifically, like he's going to be a very high rate quarterback for me. So that's why I prefer him. But SC, who do you prefer in this range?
I think Aaron Rodgers is an interesting buy. I think he's someone to check out because, it was against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, we know, has a good defense. They have a good secondary as well. They were able to shut down. It was Devontae Adams' first game, right? And maybe the hamstring injury was legit, and maybe he did, was a little bit lingering. He's going to get involved in that offense. Coming up, the Jets have at New England, Houston, at Arizona, Indianapolis, and then a bye week, then Seattle, at Miami, at Jacksonville. So he actually offers a favorable schedule, and you got him a wide receiver that he wanted. So it's going to happen. There is still the ghost of Garrett Wilson there, right? You have Tyler Conklin, Breece Hall's eating. So the more that Breece Hall continues to eat, as you mentioned earlier with the play action with Russell Wilson, that's going to open up for Aaron Rodgers. And guess what? That's bombs all day to Devontae Adams. So a lot of people may be hesitant. People are probably saying, he's 40 years old. He's done. Hey, go buy him, because I think when it comes down to it, he may be a good playoff push type of quarterback. There may be opportunities where you're like, I'm going to start Aaron Rodgers over Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes has struggled here and there, right? So with those options and the weapons that Rodgers has instead of Mahomes and what he has, you could be looking into that. So I think he is a buy here in certain situations, especially after a horrendous game. People are probably fading him, so you can definitely go get him. And if he's on the waivers, check him out because he's still Aaron Rodgers. So.
Right. I think when that schedule lightens up towards the back half, like what we talk about, that's when we want Aaron Rodgers because he could take off. It's just he needs the passing touchdowns. Like that's what it is because he's not going to be mobile, right? But with that offense, it's all set up, and I don't like their defense rest of the season, so I think he's going to be in more shootouts than not. So I think the option is there for him, so I think he's a good option. Let's jump into running backs and talk about the shallow tier running backs. There's some good ones available. I actually like this tier kind of more than the middle tier. Ray Davis is the top guy. He's at 14%. There's also Jalen Wright in Miami at 19%. Dearness Johnson at 18% for Jacksonville. Kimani Vidal at 16% for the Chargers. And Tyler Goodson, if you need someone to play for this week, because I expect JT to be out, he's at 14% in Indianapolis. I'll start with you, SC. Who is the guy you were targeting that tier?
I really like Ray Davis, but I think Goodson, man. Jonathan Taylor has the ankle sprain, and I know he says he's get back. This is exactly why I didn't have him as top 10 in my running back ranks, just because I know a lot of people say, he's a top back. Sure, he is, but past 2 seasons, he hasn't been on the field. And we're seeing that again, with the high ankle sprain. He's probably going to miss 2 to 4 more weeks with that sprain. So Goodson is the more equipped back right now. He is getting he is getting the opportunities outside of Sherman. So he is the back to target there. And with Anthony Richardson there, it does open up the running game a little bit more because teams have to account for him as well. I like the other backs there, Kimani Vidal, but he's irrelevant unless Dobbins goes down. Jalen Wright, but he has Octane and Mostert in front of him, right? So Ray Davis is really nice too because we saw him get the work when Cook was hurt. At the same time, we need to see him. Cook is still there, so unless Cook is healthy, Ray Davis is a low. And if you need to get some depth, go get him. But I think your best option to get some points for you this week is Tyler Goodson.
Yeah, I like Goodson. What about you, Jeremy?
Yeah, I'll go with Vidal for the reason you mentioned, SC, is the fact that J.K. Dobbins is still there, but J.K. Dobbins is getting all the work he can handle. Gus Edwards already down. Like, we kind of saw this coming. We're concerned about J.K. Dobbins for sure, just with this amount of workload in his history. So I'm going to bank on Vidal getting more and more integrated to the point where he can actually fully take over year one and be, that guy if Dobbins goes down. If Dobbins doesn't go down, we're not talking about him, but I think that's the case with all the guys in these tier. We're just waiting on an injury. I think Jalen Wright right now, he showed he can do it. He's in a competent and capable offense, but he's going to need 1, if not 2 injuries to be relevant. Vidal just needs 1 because one of the guys already went down.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think with the interesting thing with Goodson is JT missed 3 games a couple of years ago from the high ankle sprain. He's already missed 3, so I'm curious when he does come back if it's like worse than that was, but that kind of gives us time on him. And yeah, like to your point on Wright, like Wright has been their best back so far this year. Like efficiency wise, he's about the chart, so I think he's worth the stab. But yeah, like the reason why I have Davis is he can give you a little bit of standalone value in his current role right now. But if you want the upside bet for the other guys, like yeah, I'm 100% with you on
Yep.
Let's jump into our middle tier, and this one's really interesting because it's highlighted by Jalen Warren, who's only at roster at 42%. And he outsnapped Najee like last week. His second game back from injury, outsnapped him. In the first half, he was at 61% snap share. The game got a little out of hand, so they went to Najee. But by the way, like Warren is chipping into Najee workload, so I think he's very interested in that offense. And if an injury happens, through the roof. Also, like Tyler Algier in Atlanta, he's at 50%. Ty Chandler's at 25% roster. He's more of a high priority handcuff. Justice Hill, we saw yesterday, he's at 32% for Baltimore. And then the last guy's Antonio Gibson at 43%. I'm not a big Antonio Gibson fan, but with the Ramondre situation and injuries, like there's fantasy points there. So, Jeremy, let's start with you. Who do you prefer in this tier?
Yeah, I want it to be Algier. It can't be Algier, unfortunately, just because that offense is a little bit up and down. We see what the pass catchers are doing. They're built to, utilize Bijan and then, pass the football. It was the first guy you mentioned, and now all of a sudden I'm blanking on his name. Jalen Warren. I really think he's the option here. Najee Harris has looked great the last 2 games. I think the threat of Jalen Warren has, put a little pep in his step. But Najee was not looking good at the beginning of the year. Jalen Warren is coming on, and he still doesn't seem completely healthy, but he's getting the work and he's being integrated. Now, Cordero Patterson is hurt at the moment, so that's the concern is maybe he comes back, Arthur Smith starts to do Arthur Smith things, and then none of these guys are really relevant. But I think Jalen Warren should start to be utilized the way he always should have been utilized, especially now with Russell Wilson behind center, as a pass-catching threat out of the backfield. I want to see that in the next few weeks, and I'm going to buy into him off of waivers now if he's available, just to hold and stash in hopes that he becomes that way.
100%. What you said was keys. Like he's the passing down back already. Like he's already out targeted Najee. Like he has more targets than him on the. So it's just like, yeah, he has a decent role as it is. If he's able to take away more work and be the 1A, or if an injury happens to Najee, like I think he has the best pass to be standalone and high upside for you guys. Before we get into the high tier, we have a question about running backs. He wants to get a running back for Olave. He's in the process of trading Gibbs for Jay Jettas. I mean, yeah, if you can get Jay Jettas, hell yeah. But for Olave, who do you guys think you can get? I'm assuming this is redraft, my guess. But is there any running backs that come to mind you think would be good, like positional switches for that, like the value of Olave?
Connor.
Yeah, I like Connor.
I would say possibly Dobbins. Dobbins has struggled the past couple of weeks, so you could possibly get him. Connor's a good one too.
Yeah, I'd say like Monty's range as well, right? Like those kind of back end RB1s, the guys that have value, maybe DeAndre Swift, like that type of player, right? I think you can go get him. It's just the guys are looking for from volume. I think he's very interesting.
Just don't know if you're selling Olave at a high right now with quarterback issues going on. So,
like Carr's supposed to be back. That's the thing, right? And if Carr's back, like even if Rattler's just the quarterback, like he's going to see all, because like backup quarterbacks, they don't check down, like they don't read the progressions. It's the first guy, and Olave is going to be the first guy I never read, so his target share is going to be through the roof. The offense will be a disaster, but at least Olave is going to get targets, so we'll see. But, no, Jamie, we didn't talk about Kendre Miller. I think Kendre Miller is interesting. I'm not as into Kendre Miller because I have a hard time seeing him getting a significant role in that offense. Like that's the biggest thing. I think he's that high priority upside handcuff. The issue is like Jamal Williams. They still like to play Jamal Williams. Don't ask me why. Jamal Williams looks like the slowest man on earth right now. But he's so like I'm a little bit worried about Kendre. I'll ask you guys. Are either of you guys into Kendre as like a waiver wire
ad? I like him as a stash. I'm not. If you have $0 ads, I would go place a bid, and why not? But I'm not going to necessarily put any of my fab on him. He was a great talent. When he came out of college. Kamara's there though, so it's hard. If Kamara gets traded or gets hurt, we've been waiting for Miller, but Miller's been banged up too, so that's been the biggest thing.
Yeah, I think that's what is like the selling is the biggest, like the way he gets on the field, right? But I just don't know teams to take on the contract. Like that's my thought process for an old running back. So, I mean, maybe it's possible, but
yeah.
Also, Dennis Allen said yesterday that there's a chance that Taysom Hill comes back and plays in week 8. Taysom Hill is lurking. I can't do anything outside of Kamara. I get it. Maybe they move on. They should. I mean, this Saints team is always trying to compete. They've been trying to compete for the last decade with a non-competitive team. But yeah, Taysom Hill is lurking, and if it's not Kamara, I'm out.
Yeah, and don't worry, Tyler. We're going to cover wide receivers here in a second, so we will be answering your questions on Bateman and those guys here in 1 minute. So yeah, we're going to move over to wide receivers. Or actually, sorry, we did not do the shallow league running backs. I'll get this really quickly. Tyrone Tracy is the top guy. Still, Singletary came back. He was the top dog. Like I understand the offensive concern, but he's the pass catcher in that offense. He's still getting more work. I just really like him. You could do Jonathan Brooks. He's at 72%. Probably your last chance to get Jonathan Brooks. I really like Jonathan Brooks as well. Tank Bigsby's at 73%. Alexander Madison, 63%. Rico Dowdle's at 73%. I'll shoot to you, Essie. Who do you prefer in that top tier of running backs if they're available?
I think out of these running backs, they all look attractive based on what they're doing, but the least attractive is probably Rico Dowdle. But it looks like he's a back in Dallas, and Dallas is a crap show right now. You don't want anything to do with it. But if you need a running back, I think you can get Rico Dowdle the cheapest because the other running backs in this tier are looking good. So I mean, you're got to pay a lot for them, where you can pay way less for Dowdle just because of the offense that he's in. So in that sense, I would target him. Don't try to compete with I mean, go if you want, right? If you have the fab, go ahead and do it. But if you're trying to save your fab, I think what Dowdle gives you the best shot.
Yeah, I like that.
Hey, SC, speak for yourself, man. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Rico Dowdle here. One man's trash, another man's treasure, whatever you want to say. Rico Dowdle's the guy here. You got to go out and get Dowdle. I think the Dallas offense has looked terrible, but they played Pittsburgh and like a rejuvenated Detroit defense in the last 2 weeks. They've had their bye. They get San Francisco, who we know you can run on this season for some reason. I don't know what the hell's going on over there. But then Atlanta, Philly. It's not an easy schedule for them. At the same time, Dallas needs to just continue to pound the rock. It's not going to happen with Ezekiel. They have nobody else. And what I'd love to see is in 3 games, including the most recent game, Dowdle has at least 5 targets, 6 targets last week. 2 weeks ago before the bye, 5 receptions, 30 yards. So that's the usage we want to see. We want to see more on the ground. But yeah, Dowdle's the guy for me. Tracy's nice, but Dowdle's on a better offense, I think.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing is the game got so out of hand. He only had 5 carries, right, against Detroit. Not expecting that to happen. He's their main back. He's going to get double-digit carries. I like Dowdle. Like he's the low-hanging fruit that a lot of people don't like, but I think he's more than likely going to be like a RB2, RB3 for a week in and a week out. It's ugly, but his point is like you just target it. All right, so now I jumped the gun a little bit. We're going to jump into wide receivers. And I think wide receivers is a much more interesting topic because of all the injuries of the position. So there's a lot of guys that I really like. I'm going to start out with my deep league, the 0-25%, and Ricky Pearsall, who barely makes it at 25%, should be available in your league. I am pounding the table for Ricky Pearsall. I think he's the best bet of all those wide receivers. I prefer him to Jauan Jennings personally. But you could also do Jalen McMillan at 6% in Tampa Bay because that wide receiver core is just empty. Rashad Bateman, who we talked about, 24% in Baltimore. He's coming on strong. Cedric Tillman's another guy in Cleveland into all of a sudden Jameis Winston-led offense. And Troy Franklin at 8%. I will start with you, Jeremy. Who do you prefer in this tier?
I like Ricky. I kind of want whatever's happening in San Francisco. We were talking earlier at the top of the show about Jacob Cowing. All right, he's an interesting name, but when Jauan Jennings is healthy, Jauan Jennings should kind of be the one here, and that bumps Ricky down to the 2, at least in terms of coverage. And then you're talking about, well, who's actually the 1 and 2 in terms of targets? It could absolutely be Ricky Pearsall. The real answer here is George Kittle, but we know George Kittle isn't available on waivers. So what you need to go out and do is get one of these 2 guys, that's Jennings or Pearsall. We know in a Kyle Shanahan offense, they're going to function and flourish enough. And if CMC comes back early, that's just going to open up more things in the passing game for these wide receivers.
100%. What do you think, Essie?
I'm gonna let you get your guy. That would be mine, but I'll let you talk about him, Jesse. So I'm gonna go with my guy though. I'm gonna say Troy Franklin. I think that was my wide receiver 3 coming in. I think we're starting to see them say like, oh snap, we have a wide receiver here. It's Bo Nix's college guy too, right? So we're seeing a little bit more involvement in him. I made the mistake of trading him away in one league, and I was like, shit, man, I should have done that. If you can get him, I really like it. I just think with the way the offense is running, they're starting to say, okay, Bo, what are you wanting to do? And he's like, get my guy involved, right? So we're starting to see a little bit more targets there. Go towards Troy Franklin. Portland Sutton had a goose egg, this past week. So that's kind of concerning. Not concerning in the sense of like, all right, he was supposed to be the guy, right? But now it's like, okay, they're getting Franklin more involved there. And again, with his college quarterback being there, they have a chemistry already, a reliable chemistry. So I think he's only going to get more and more involved in that offense. And right now, we're getting him at a low time. So get him while you can, because if that becomes the 1 for it, that's going to be, all guns up for Bo Nix and Franklin there. I also like Tillman. Tillman got, 18 targets, so that's wild.
Yes.
So he was feasting yesterday.
Yes. Go get some.
But that's the Cleveland offense was Judy just covered as the 1 and not doing it, and Njoku looked nice. That's why I went Franklin over him.
Njoku has me feeling very nice. You don't even get me started on him. But I will say with Jauan Jennings, the interesting thing, and we can kick into that tier in a second, but he has a hip injury, and I don't know how serious that is, and that's what worries me. Like, I know that's why I said Ricky Pearsall is the one healthy wide receiver they have. Yeah, they have Jacob Cowing. So, like, I'm worried Jennings misses this week, and if you're spending all your fab on a guy that's, like, you're expecting production now, that's what worries about with Jennings. But, like, Jennings is top 3 in, like, win rate. He's top 20 in average separation score. He's been really
Looks
good
good
this year.
Yeah.
He looks fantastic. I just worried about that injury, like same thing with DK. So I think the other interesting guy is Bateman. Like, Bateman looks awesome. He finally looks like the guy that was drafted back in 2020, like the guy that we liked a lot and that I was pounding the table for. He looks really good playing alongside Zay Flowers in that offense, man. I think he's much more of a foreplay, but I think he's really, really good. So if you want somebody you know is going to give you production this year, I think Bateman's a very good bet because he's safe. He's been good. He's doing it for you. So I like him as well.
Well, on Bateman, 4 catches in each of his last 3 games, no fewer than 58 yards in each game, and he went off for 121 and a touchdown. Like, Bateman is doing it, and you know who looks really good in Baltimore? Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, and as a result, everyone else. That offense is cooking because of Derrick Henry, and Bateman is going to continue to eat.
Yeah,
100%.
Just
the whole quote of Jerry Jones is coming back around where he's like, I just don't think Derrick Henry would be having a breakout season in our offense. Bro, just retire, dude. Like,
I think he is kind of right, though. Like, that offense is very broken. So, like, Derrick Henry would not be what he's doing in Baltimore. Like, it's similar how it was in Tennessee with Henry, right? Like, they got these negative game scripts. Tennessee just gets removed from the offense. So, like, that's kind of the issue with Henry. But yeah, like, in Baltimore, it's the perfect situation. This is why we pound the table for him, right? 20 plus.
Jesse, your response to that implies that Jerry Jones is self-aware, and I don't think that that's actually the case. I think he just thought he was cooked, like SC said.
On behalf of the fantasy football community, on behalf of the Cowboy fans, Jerry Jones, with all due respect, quit your job.
Fire yourself.
Get out of here.
Shakir's a decent option, but I prefer Coleman, who's going to be available later on. We'll talk about Coleman in a second, but I like both those guys. It's fun. And then interesting, I guess we hit this Cooper Kupp trade if it happens. What are your guys' thoughts? Do you guys think Cooper Kupp's getting traded, and how does that affect the team that he goes to if he gets traded?
We need to see him healthy, right? I mean, he's a good back, but I mean, a good wide receiver, but he's always been hurt. Easily could slide it to a 1. People have said, Bucks, go get him, right? You can have KC go get him, right? So easily becomes a wide receiver 1 in certain situations. How does it affect the Rams, though? I think if they're trading away Kupp and then rumors circling about them possibly trading Stafford, they're saying, okay, we have all our eggs in these guys' baskets. We need to rebuild, and we're starting to. Right? I don't think it makes sense because I think for them, you go get a quarterback in this draft and let them sit behind Stafford to learn. Kupp, you have Puka there, so I get it. But at the same time, don't with these veteran wide receivers that are good, don't trade them for like a third, man. Like, go out there and get a younger player that has promise, or get a second. You're not getting a first for him, but it's like, don't go out there and trade him for like a 7th round pick and a 4th round or something stupid. I don't know.
Amari Cooper trade a couple years ago.
Yeah.
My only concern with Kupp is where's he going? Like, for fantasy, I don't think he's going anywhere that helps us. If he goes to Pittsburgh, he's probably going to soak up a lot of targets, but are we really sold on Russell Wilson after just 1 game? George Pickens looks great, but Russ has thrown up a lot of contested balls, and he's just going up and getting them. Versus Cooper Kupp, he's been a target magnet. I'd love to see him in reality football go to either Pittsburgh or Washington, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think those are teams that can compete now, desperately need a guy like that. But I don't see like his fantasy appeal picking up with Jaden Daniels or Russ, because they're going to have to continue to pepper him with targets. They already have some established ones there, and there's no way he's getting the accuracy or the amount of targets that he was getting in a Sean McVay offense that's designed around him, getting the ball from an incredibly accurate Matthew Stafford. So, he should go to one of those teams. Will he? I don't know. If he goes with Baker in Tampa, he's fine.
Hey, that's the role that was designed after him. Like, if he takes over the Chris Godwin role, it's just a 1-for-1 like swap out, and like he'll give you plenty of production. So that team like makes sense. And like I posted today, like they should just trade Godwin straight up for Kupp if they want to compete, because Godwin's like it's going into next year potentially, right? So Makes a lot of sense. We'll hit this one quick. Are you guys dropping Christian Kirk for either Pearsall or McMillan? They have Juju and DK out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Either. Pearsall.
Yeah, I'd say Pearsall then McMillan.
Put
I don't mind Kirk, but yeah, it's kind of
it's situations like this. You put in a bid for both of them,
Mhm.
and whichever one you get, right? Put the same amount for both of them, and just whichever one you get. But I like both of them. So
that's a good one. And then this one, they picked up Jennings and dropped Tank Dell. Ooh, I don't know how I feel about the drop Tank Dell. But they were wondering if they dropped Mooney instead. The wide receiver core is Lamb, Debo is injured, Kupp who's coming back. Like Mooney is it's rough. I would say go pick up Tank Dell. That would be my suggestion. But are you guys picking up or are you guys dropping Mooney for Tank Dell? I guess looks like this question is.
It's really hard. It's really hard right now. I mean, yeah, I would probably drop Mooney for Dell only because that offense is so. But you have the same sort of offense in Atlanta that you have in Houston with a kind of an immobile quarterback who's relying on throwing the ball and spreading around with a workhorse running back, right? And then we're talking about like the secondary receiving target, which isn't, neither of these teams are lighting the scoreboard up weekly. So should you pick up Jennings? I like it, but yeah, I probably would have kept both of these guys.
Yeah, that makes sense.
True. I agree with that. Keep both of them, but I do like Mooney over Dell just because I think he's getting more opportunity. We know Nico Collins is still coming back, right? So that's going to hurt Dell in the future. Where Mooney, he's a 2. As far as behind London, you still have Pitts getting more involved, but I think Kirk Cousins is finding him, and that's good. We're seeing a side of Mooney we haven't seen, so they want to use him in this offense, right? They actually went out and acquired him as well, so this is opportunity for them to say, okay, let's make sure we have this guy ready for Kirk Cousins. So I'll Jennings take down on Mooney. With Jennings having the injury, I actually like Mooney the most, I believe. So
yeah, Mooney's good. Like he's a good wide receiver in a good situation. Like it makes a lot of sense. I think Dell's the upside shot. Mooney's more than floor play. Is the way I look at it because Nico's coming back. Like he's going to come back. So it's not going to be the same role for him. So overall, I'm with you on that. All right, before we get some more discussions, let's jump into our medium tier. SC, do you have to head out right now?
Yeah, guys, I'm going to head out. I appreciate y'all having me on for the Waiver Show. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. We have content coming out daily, and check out the Fantasy Football Universe for the full article here. But yeah, guys, enjoy the Waiver Show, and I'll be on later.
All right,
peace.
Take care, SC.
Later.
Oh, wait, don't do that. I was about to end the screen. Hold on. Sorry. All right.
Oh yeah, sorry, my bad on that. All right, so Jeremy, we're gonna go to the middle tier. Obviously, Jauan Jennings is the popular name. He's the one guy that stands above everybody else. He's at 37% rostered. I'll go through the names quickly. Jalen Tolbert, 33%. Dontavian Wicks, he's back in our lives, 34%. Xavier Legette, 41%. And Jordan Whittington at 33%. Jordan Whittington is there because I don't know what's going on with Kupp. Puka finally got brought back from the IR, but I like a few of these guys. If you can't get Jauan Jennings, we'll say this because he's the clear guy. Who among that group are you targeting?
Yeah, my memory is absolute garbage. So you said Tolbert, and who was the guy you said after Tolbert?
Dontavian Wicks, Xavier
Legette,
Wicks,
and then Legette. I heard Legette. So yeah, I don't mind any of those guys. If I have to choose from those guys, I want Wicks. He's shown the ability to kind of get open. Can he catch the football? He did last week. So let's hope he can continue to do that. Yes. So I like Wicks. But Jalen Tolbert is a super interesting name to me, only because, again, this offense is kind of rock bottom. I know they're having issues along the offensive line. I know for whatever reason, whether it's Dak is holding the ball too long or what's more likely, the coverage is just leaning towards CeeDee Lamb and he's not open on every single play. So Dak has to look elsewhere and it takes time. The offense is kind of functioning less than we expected, but the schedule should get a little bit easier coming up than it has been the last couple of weeks. And I'm going to go ahead and ride Jalen Tolbert. But I don't mind any of these guys. It's kind of pick your poison.
Yeah, I think it's all about what you prefer, right? Like Tolbert has a wide open depth chart to do that. Wicks, we like the talent. He failed miserably for a couple of weeks. He finally come back in our life. Legette, like there's no one else outside Deontay. And if Deontay moves on, like he becomes wide receiver 1. Who knows what's going on with that offense? It looks very interesting. All right, South Sea. We already said this one. Like Wilson and Tua, I would pick up both of those guys if you need a quarterback. It really just depends on your preference. Tua's more the floor play. I think Wilson gives you a little bit more ceiling, but it's going to be up and down with both of these guys. I think I like Russell Wilson, but they're not going to be putting up 37 points a week against a team. That just seems unrealistic. So yeah, drop one. Yeah, no worries. I would say the best buy low week winner wide receiver. I mean,
wide receiver. I had a running back, but let's say wide receiver.
I would say like you just pick one of these guys off the waiver, like that could be a true league winner. I don't know how likely that is because of the injuries and all that situation, but I want the San Francisco pass catchers. Like I want guys in that offense. And then I would say just shoot the moon, Jalen McMillan. Like I just want somebody who, with rookies, like they show upside, and this is the unknown with them. I don't mind doing that. But if you're looking for a guy that's really undervalued, who's underperformed, like Tank Dell comes out to mind. Like Tank Dell was really good last year. He's not lived up to expectations. He's coming on strong. He's like his target rate and all that stuff is getting better. Obviously, it was a bad game. The offense was a disaster last week, so there's a little bit of that. But you can just go down by like expected points. It's a really easy way to look at the difference between two of them. So I can stall for a second if you could think of somebody, Jeremy.
Yeah, I was looking at Deontay. We love Deontay. I'm a little concerned that maybe Andy Dalton potentially sees the bench later in the season, but that fantasy playoff schedule for them is amazing. I just closed it out, but it's really nice. Another kind of buy low who could be interesting right now is Xavier Worthy. I think Xavier Worthy just hasn't done what he's been able to do, but he saw a ton of first read targets this week, the most on the team, 8 targets in total, but only 3 receptions for 19 yards. They still need to figure out how to utilize this guy, but coming up, Las Vegas, Tampa Bay, probably get shut down by Denver and Buffalo, but then Carolina, Vegas. So the schedule opens up a little bit nicely for him. He's a rookie wide receiver, so the second half of the year, we like how that plays out as well. And they're using McCole Hardman far too much, so they need to get Xavier Worthy more involved. I like him as well.
I think he's a really good one. Like his target rate, first read look, like he was the guy they were trying to focus on that offense. It's not hit yet. It will come. Like give it time. He's a rookie. Like it should come second half of the season. But yeah, like I think if you're just trying to buy like a guy we know is good, it's Cooper Kupp. Like Cooper Kupp's the one guy with all the trade stuff circulating around him, the injuries and everything. Like he's still at a discounted price where you could buy him. Because usually in a redraft, you cannot buy that type of player. His usage, as I said before, is still the best in the NFL. Like when he's on the field, nobody gets more targets and stuff like that. So I will say Cooper Kupp for you.
Yeah.
Otten or Ferguson? Like Ferguson. I like Otten. Would you do Otten or Andrews? I prefer Otten over Andrews, but like I think it's
give me Andrews.
Yeah,
give me Andrews. Andrews looked really good. 2 touchdowns, super healthy. That offense is cooking. I'm going Andrews.
This is an interesting one. Would you trade Mason Love for Burrow?
No.
Yeah, I think you just live with it. Like it's similar. Burrow's been awesome, but like Love's not too far behind him, so I don't mind it. And I mean, they have CMC. He's coming back, so yeah, I just write it out with Love too. I'm with you.
Yeah, but CMC is coming back, right? So like, if who's to say CMC comes back and is completely healthy for the rest of the season? Like keep Jordan Mason around for CMC injuries.
100%. All right, let's jump to the shallow tier of wide receivers. The guy that stands out to me is Keon Coleman. If you guys don't know, I love rookies because the upside, the unknown is there. So and on these shows, I'm going to continue to pound the table for rookies because they come on the second half of the season. Their role improves or do that. Keon Coleman, I know he's got stank on him. People don't like him, but like he showed out last week. Amari Cooper helps him out so much. This is the thing. He doesn't have to be the sacrificial X. He was running 94% of his snaps at X. That is going to go down, so he's not going to get all the tough coverage. They can mix him around into the slot. They can move him around the field more, and it just makes the releases and everything easier for him. Because, by the way, defense is going to dictate coverage to Amari Cooper because he's the veteran good wide receiver. So I think that helps out that entire offense. It should raise the floor with Cooper. I just like betting on a young rookie who shows some promise. And Keon Coleman, who we said coming out, if he plays the slot, that's how he's going to be really successful. So if they can do that with him, I think it's really good. I also have Tyler Lockett at 65%. With the DK injury, I think that really helps Lockett out a lot. And he's a guy you should absolutely target for production now. Juju Smith-Schuster, I don't know how bad that injury is. They were already rolled him out for week 8. He's a long-term stash, but it kind of sucks. Demario Douglas is at 52%. We talked about Drake May, one of targets pass catchers. And Romeo Doubs is at 63%. Who is the guy in that group you were targeting, Jeremy?
I got to join you with Keon Coleman. I've been hating on him for too long, but 17.86 yards per target on 7 targets last week. That's crazy. Caught 4 of them for $125. Didn't score and still ended up the wide receiver 13 on the week. So look, in half PPR. So what you need to make sure that you do is go out and prioritize Keon Coleman. I think he's only getting better. Josh Allen is trusting him more. This offense is starting to come around. The defense is actually getting a bit worse, especially in the pass defense, right? So teams are kind of scoring a bit on Buffalo, and they have to air it out a little bit more. And especially with the Cook injury, they're not as reliant on the run as before, at least not last week against Tennessee when they should have been. So I don't know. We'll see. They play Seattle. They play Miami, a healthy Miami team. So the next 2 games should be shootouts. Can't call me.
Hey.
I like it.
Yeah. He leads all rookie wide receivers in yaks per reception, 10 yards per reception. Like, he's doing a lot of good stuff. That was his skill set. Oh yeah, and by the way, he's at 2.17 yards after yards per out run. Like, that's really good stuff from a rookie.
It's a good one.
I get it. It's a good one, right? So I like that one a lot. All right, we're gonna jump into the tight ends, and tight ends are not as fun to talk about because there's not a lot of good tight ends available. But we do have some injuries and stuff going into tight end position. So we're gonna hit this early, like the low to 25% deep tier. Taysom Hill leads us 22%. The Saints need playmakers, dude. Like, they have nobody right now. You have Kamara, you have Olave's coming back from an injury. Taysom Hill, if he's healthy, like, they're going to feature him in this offense.
Yeah.
With an injured Derek Carr, like, it's 22%. I think he's a really good bet. I will say Noah Fant at 24% because of the DK injury. We've seen how they're using him. That's a good bet as well. Your guy, Jatavian Sanders, at 7%. He's seen a lot of targets the last couple of weeks. He's coming on. Jauan Johnson at 8%, and Will Dissly, who just had a monster game, which does not seem like sustainable, but he's at 2%. Who in this shallow tier are you targeting, Jeremy?
Oh, it's Taysom by far. Taysom Hill is going to come back and do Taysom Hill things in a Dennis Allen-led team. Who these guys, we thought it was Sean Payton who loved Taysom Hill. Now we think it's Dennis Allen who loves Taysom Hill. I just think Taysom Hill is just loved universally by everyone and comes in and just scores 2 touchdowns a game. Unless he gets goose egged, right? But you don't know. He's so boom bust, but he can outright win you a week. And that's what I want at the tight end position. If I don't have one of those steady top 4, maybe contributors weekly, I want Taysom far above all these other guys.
100%. Like, I think it just, we know the Taysom experience. You have to live with the roller coaster as Taysom Hill, because if he puts up 25 points, like, he could easily do that. You're winning your week. That is so vital, especially the tight end position, which is just a disaster across the board. Outside of a few guys, right? Like, that's why we like it. So I'm with you. Before I answer for this question, I want to get to this medium tier. By the way, sleeper, there was like 3 guys only in this medium tier that were available. That's it. I could not find more people, so I apologize. That's all we could have. But Cade Otton leads the charge. Their wide receiver core is decimated. He just went off for 8 catches for 100 yards. I get it. Baker had to pass a lot, but still, he had a career high game against the Ravens defense, which, is susceptible to pass. And yeah, like, they're just going to need pass catchers. So he's at 42% rostered. I think he's a good bet. If you can't get Otton, I like Hunter Henry, who's at 29%, and Zach Ertz at 42%. Are you going after Otton, or do you prefer all the other guys?
All of them. All of them. Why not? Yeah. Get whoever you can get here for cheap. I'd probably put a bid on all 3 of these guys and just like low bid until I got one of them. With Cade Otton, I think he's going to be really boom bust, but they need him. Mike Evans, it just came out while we were on the show that the Bucs are unlikely to put him on IR, but that lets us know that they were considering IR, which means it's a multi-week absence for Evans. Otton is going to be necessary in that offense. We saw what he looked like last week. The question is, if coverage now rolls his way, how effective can he be in that offense? That remains to be seen. Hunter Henry is the apple of Drake May's eye, and Zach Ertz just continues to get it done in one of the best offenses in the league somehow in Washington. So yeah, every single one of these guys, I think they offer you something a little bit different in terms of boom bust or consistency. But I don't care. I just want one of these guys in my lineups, especially in the better matchups.
Yeah, I like it. Like, these are the guys that are giving you borderline top 12 production. If we're getting that at tight end, man, you take it to the bank, because we know tight end's a disaster. So it's all of those guys. We'll jump to the shallow league before we answer a few other questions. So hold on, we'll get to those in a second. The shallow league, I have Cole Kmet as top guy. Cole Kmet's usage the last month has been top 6 tight end position. Like, he's awesome. He's top 3 tight end in scoring, 12.2 points per game. Plus matchups the next 2 weeks, I expect him to continue to be a must-start tight end moving forward. Outside of that, we have TJ Hawkinson, who's also a guy. If he's at all available, go get TJ Hawkinson. He's just on threshold, 75%. These other guys are a little less likely, but Dalton Schultz at 69%, Kraft at 72%, Pat Freiermuth at 73%. Are you doing Hawkinson or are you doing Cole Kmet? Because I like both of those guys.
I'm doing Hawkinson, but it depends if you need wins now. I think you hit the nail on the head. The Cole Kmet bubble will burst, but it won't burst yet. He's got a couple of really good matchups, unless Rome and DJ Moore and Keenan Allen all go off. Cole Kmet should still have a very nice day at tight end in the next 2 weeks. It's possible. It's possible he throws in a dud. But yeah, Hawkinson is the long-term play. Tucker Kraft is interesting, but it's crowded. Pat Freiermuth is probably your best consistent lower end option who can give you that weekly floor. I want Hawkinson. I want all the ceiling.
Yeah.
I want Sam Darnold, who is really Kevin O'Connell. I want all the ties to that offense. Give me Hawk.
Yeah, I'm with you. Hawkinson's been awesome. People love to discount him in Dynasty, and I don't fully get it. Like, if you were able to buy Hawkinson this offseason, it was the ideal time to get him because now he's coming back. Still probably have like a week or two where people are going to be a little worried about him getting redraft. Like, I think he's very much a go-get player if you can. All right, so that's going to wrap up the tight ends and all the fun stuff. Let's answer some of these questions while we have them. So, thank you all for waiting. We have a question from Gaitlin. Kupp and Mason, they need to trade because they're scared Kupp will get traded. I will tell you, don't be worried about Kupp. Just trust in Kupp. If he's healthy, he's going to be one of the most valuable wide receivers in the NFL. But if you're trying to package those guys, if that you decide you want to make that trade, Jeremy, who are you targeting? Because I think they're targeting a wide receiver for these two guys. So would you look to tier up into the high-end guys, or what are you trying to do?
Yeah, I wonder who you can get right now. Like, I'm looking at a couple names like Drake London. Probably can't get Drake London at the moment. DK Metcalf, he's injured. What does that look like? I don't really want to Diggs necessarily at this point. Yeah, it's a really tough one because wide receiver's been a bit of a hellscape. You might be able to get I don't know if I want to do it for T. Higgins or DJ Moore. Yeah, I think you have to kind of. And are you going Brian Thomas? Like, would you try to get Brian Thomas for these two? It feels like it's not enough. I don't know. I think it's a little boom bust. So look, I'd probably go after Drake London, see if I can get him. Doubtful. I don't think you can get Justin Jefferson. I don't want Jaden Reed at the moment for this package. So yeah, I mean, I think you kind of just hold.
Yeah, that's what I would do too. But if you're looking to trade him, I'm going to all the top wide receivers in the league. I'm offering those managers the same trade. Just shooting the moon for them. Just set it for that wide receiver. You're probably going to get rejected because it's redraft. It's really hard to get those guys.
Yep.
So you got to get a guy that's a little undervalued. Maybe someone's down on Amon-Ra, whatever it is. Like maybe you can do that. I highly doubt you could do it. But that's the type of players we're talking about because we saw it in Kupp, man. Like the usage is out of control. So you have to find the players that you're comfortable with. So if you like players lower down, you prefer that, go make that move because it's going to be a more likely option that trade is accepted. Maybe someone's down on CD because of the issues he's going through and stuff of that nature, right? It's just tough with Mason because people know that window is closing very quickly. So that's what makes it difficult trading him. But like your package, like these pieces could be very valuable for you for the next few weeks. So I don't mind it. Question from Scott here. He said, in his high stakes league, Otton and McMillan are available. I have 700 fab left. Do you empty the barrel? I mean, it depends on how robust your waivers are. It's like, it depends on that league, right? It's high stakes. So I'm assuming these guys know what they're talking about and they pay attention to this. So I don't mind chasing these guys because you're probably not going to get options this good coming along. I don't know if you have to fully empty the barrel, but that depends on your league. You know the settings more than we do and how people bid on players. Like if they're throwing buku bucks on these guys, then yeah, that's what you have to do. I would feel weird about starting both of these guys each and every week, right? Because you don't know how it's going to go with these kind of ancillary pass catchers, even though they're stepping into bigger role. We still need to see it from McMillan. We have no idea. He's shown sparks. Like he's been, he's kind of been like the piece that like elevates that offense a little bit. And Otton, I'm fine with Otton, man. Like I prefer Otton just because I know what he's going to do.
Agreed.
McMillan's the wild card. Would you just throw all the money at him, or what would you do?
I'd probably back off on McMillan, like you're saying, and go after Otton only. I think they're going to have to use these backs. They have 3 of them now. They're going to have to use these backs a lot more, not just running the football, which they will do more, but also out of the backfield, which they started to do yesterday or 2 days ago after. I'm trying to think. I guess it was yesterday. Was it after Godwin went out where they were utilizing the backs a lot more? It certainly seemed like it in the passing game. So, so that's really what I'm looking at in this offense. I want Otton, McMillan. I'm going to pump the brakes on for now. He could develop, like we're saying, rookies in the second half. But yeah, I'd go after Otton and I'd kind of let somebody else take the stab on McMillan.
Yeah, if the Tampa Bay team gets into these negative game scripts, they entirely could because they're playing Atlanta, Kansas City, San Francisco the next 3 weeks.
Sure.
What's going to happen is Rachaad White's going to be a valuable, ugly pass-catching back in that offense because they love him as the pass-catching back. He's better than Bucky, and he's better than Sean Tucker at that. He's not a good rusher. No one's saying that, but that role seems like it's his. So I think if you want cheap points, like you can get Rachaad White. Like no one really values him, so like he'd be a guy that like you can get for cheap. But yeah, I'm fine throwing the money at him. That's totally fine with me. Let's go here. Prediction: Cowboys are going to get spanked by the 49ers. That's my prediction. Like I don't know what's going on with Dallas. Like it's not
Yeah.
good. I'm taking the 49ers over on the spread. I think it's quite high. I'm still taking the over. I don't
by a lot.
Yeah, it's so bad in Dallas. Like it's really hard to trust them. And their defense is falling apart. That's the bigger thing too. The line's a disaster. Like it's not good. So I think it's more coming on the ground is the issue because the Cowboys cannot stop the run. That's the thing right now. So I think these running backs are going to absolutely eviscerate the Cowboys. But yeah, Brock Purdy's gonna have a good game. It's just with Shanahan, he doesn't have Debo. He's not gonna have like Aiyuk. Kittle's dealing with an injury. So like I think he's really just gonna like give Jordan Mason a ton of touches. Dorendo's gonna get some run. I think that's how it goes. Do you think? How do you think?
I'm going 30-18. 49ers roll. Brock Purdy 235 yards, 2 touchdowns. The rest goes to Jordan Mason, maybe a little to Dorendo, like you were mentioning. Dallas just not going to be able to get it together. And whoever they have back there in the secondary, whether it's Lenore, Mustafa, or if Afunga comes back, I mean, all of those young guys in the secondary in San Francisco are crazy. And I think Dak probably throws multiple picks yet.
Yeah, again. There's turnovers coming. Yeah. It's just, it just does not sound good in Dallas, man. It might just be a retooling season. I don't mind it. I am a little down on Stroud this week. I don't mind the matchup. So yeah, I'm fine starting 2 over him. It's just like he's supposed to play. We'll see how it goes. It is a lot of risk you're taking on starting him just because we don't know. But you kind of have to just bet on it. It's going to work out. The Miami offense, like they're playing the Cardinals. I get it. The Cardinals play the Chargers. The Chargers defense offense isn't very good. So I expect them to carve up the Cardinals. So I'm fine. I'll probably have to like a couple spots above Stroud this week. Just we need to see it with them, man.
Yeah.
Like it's not going to often.
It's Indy this week, right? So you're
I know.
Maybe. Yeah, but you just never know when it's going to be a Joe Mixon game, right? I think that's the thing. On the flip side, you never know when it's going to be a Raheem Mostert game because it's about to be Jesse or H.M. breaking it off. So look, this one's tricky. I'll go Stroud. I'll go Stroud because Tua in his first game back, I think they're going to kind of take it easy with him. They certainly don't want him to get concussed this week, right? So
that is true.
We've been there. That happened last season, right?
Yes.
We've been there. We don't need that going on again. So yeah, I think they'll be a little more conservative in their game planning, but they do need to win that game and want to win that game. But ultimately, I'll take CJ Stroud. I think they're both going to do just okay.
I think it depends what Richardson does. Richardson had his blow-up game against Houston earlier in the season. If he could do that again, then it's fireworks. I just don't know at this point. I love Richardson, but it's just like it's not going well. Interesting trade. If you need a quarterback upgrade, sure. If you don't, I'm keeping Bijan. That's how I'm valuing this because my whole thought process with Tua is I don't see him being a difference between quarterback. I think he's fine.
Yep.
But I think the upside is limited for Tua, where you could likely get similar level value than Tua. So that's the whole thought. If you're down at quarterback, you need a quarterback, sure. I think Tyreek's really good. He's going to get a value boost. We just need to see it. But yeah, Bijan's awesome. So I think that's how I lean. Where do you slide on the string?
Yeah, I'm probably holding Bijan. I get it. You want Tyreek Hill. Maybe it takes a week or two for them to ramp up, but Bijan is just rolling right now. They have a nice schedule over the second half. I'm going to roll with Bijan.
I like it. It's very much the safer play. I think that the other side is the upside shot if you want it. So if you're like 1-5, take the upside shot, right?
Agreed.
Sports talk. Yeah, he's already been ruled out. It's a pretty severe AC. I think it's there's also another ligament that's injured for Aiyuk, so it's like a pretty severe injury. So yeah, he's not coming back anytime soon. Like he's not coming back. They're not talking about it like Hutchinson. Like he's just done. So
yeah, but let's ask this question, right? If we're talking about Dynasty, what are we doing? Are we acquiring Aiyuk? Because I'll tell you what, I have 0 Aiyuk shares. He was too expensive for my tastes. I'm not bragging here. It's just how I played that game. Yeah. I feel okay about that now, but I'm also not interested in his super depressed price. I don't know why. I can't get behind the player. He's an amazing talent. He blows up, but then like sometimes he disappears. He's more boom bust than I like, I guess.
Yeah, remember what I was saying about the offseason? Like I much prefer him outside of San Francisco for this exact reason because he's a very good wide receiver. The cap is real in San Francisco. It's very rarely we get a cap on the situation. That cap is real because they do not pass enough in San Francisco. It's something they've always done, right? So the pass steps are always there, and Debo is always going to be an integrated Kittle like CMC. This is the problem. Yeah, his price is weird. It is falling. So in Dynasty, if you're trying to trade for him, it's going to keep dropping. This is the thing with Aiyuk. I'm not giving up a first for Aiyuk because why would I give up a first for Aiyuk when I can just save a first for other guy even back? He right now is wide receiver 27. It's like his value's fine. What I would do is I would look to move for, if I'm a contending team, I'm looking to move for Henry. I'm looking to move for Mixon. Those type of pieces, with, like in that range, or a Cooper Kupp, I'm fine making that deal. If you're rebuilding and you can get him for like a mid-second, which that's kind of what people are talking about, sure, because those picks rarely hit that well. So yeah, I think it's team dependent. If you want to acquire him on a taking team, yes, but this is going to bleed over into the middle of the season. It's not like, I think the news was like it's potentially, and then there's just issues on it. So I would, if you're acquiring him, I would kind of wait till it kind of settles for a while and that price levels out. We might be a month out from now where people kind of forget about him, and then maybe you go buy it because it might get cheaper.
Yeah, that San Francisco window, the Super Bowl window, is closing quickly.
Yes.
And wow.
Like, would you trade him for George Pickens? Would you trade him for David Montgomery? Would you trade him for Jordan Addison? Those type of guys.
Pickens, I'm so down on Pickens for the same reason he did it last week, but I think he's more of that boom bust guy. Again, incredible talent. I prefer more of the consistent guy. David Montgomery, absolutely for David Montgomery.
Yeah, I think like this still gets into the contending team. I'm moving him for contending pieces because he does me no good. Like I know you could bake the value, but it's a year away, dude. And like that's the hard part. Like these first round picks are very rare in value. Like there's a finite amount of them. So if I'm trading them, I got to get a piece I can get. Do you go for AJ Brown? Yeah, go for AJ Brown. I don't know if you can get. Brown. Oh, yes. If you like BTJ more than Kupp, I get it. I'm gonna have Kupp over BTJ just because I know what Kupp is. I like BTJ a lot, but like I know what I'm getting out of Kupp. His role in the offense is fantasy points.
I think he's saying offer Kupp and BTJ for AJ Brown. Do you do that?
Oh. I really don't want to.
I do it. Do it.
It depends on your roster. Like if you have depth and you have like a few other pieces in that range, like those middling wide receiver too, like you have a T Higgins along with it, and you're trying to upgrade, sure, because this removes all of the risk from Kupp and you get like the upside from BTJ. So yeah, if you want to go get AJ Brown, yeah, like I do that, but it's roster dependent for me. But I'm such a sucker for these upside bets with like Kupp and BTJ. I just love those guys. So I know how I play, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that trade. How much fab do you drop on Tolbert and Pearsall? 30 left. You're probably gonna have to drop the majority of it. I don't want to say this, but Scott Fishbowl League, Pearsall is available. It said 10 to 20 fab. I put up 30 on him. So FYI, when that drops tomorrow, if somebody beats me on 30, I probably should have said this, but whatever. So yeah, like you're gonna have to drop a lot on these guys. And I like Tolbert, but I'm taking the upside shot of Pearsall. That's the way I'm going about that.
Pearsall, and then Tolbert.
I would make a lesser bid on Tolbert for like half the price. Like that's what I would do. So if you can back end your way in Tolbert, I think that's good. Yeah. Yes, we were talking about this earlier. Christian Kirk, you could drop him for those guys if you want to. Like I'm fine taking the upside shot in San Francisco. The Tampa Bay ones I'm a little less bullish on. I like Jalen McMillan. I'll probably keep Kirk over Jalen McMillan, but you could take the upside shot. Like this is all if your team's 1-5, 2-4, whatever your record is. Like take the upside shot, sure. Because if you're down bad and like Kirk's not doing anything for you, go for it. Because his role is just not great for fantasy. There's 3 weeks left in the regular season. Yeah, you lost Godwin Devo. Then you're gonna have to
Otten McMillan.
Yeah, just throw it at him. Because this is probably with 3 weeks left, this is probably the best bet. Yeah. Like I would just do it. Sometimes you gotta go for it.
Fair.
Yes. We appreciate it. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
With us, man.
If you like our show, like SG Sports Talk likes our show, please like and subscribe. It helps us. We appreciate you. We are live, 5 times a week, including every Saturday and every Sunday before game time to help you with start-sit decisions.
Yeah, we very much appreciate it, man. Yeah, we're quite busy with all of these shows, so we'll be looking forward to hanging out with you some more. Last question before we get out of here. A lot of depth, Deontay, BTJ, Kupp, and Amon-Ra. He needs a wide receiver with Godwin being out for the season. I think I have a good chance to get AJ. Then, if like Deontay's a little bit worrisome, but like you would have Amon-Ra, you would have freaking AJ Brown, and then you have Deontay as your third wide receiver. That sounds a lot more appealing, right? So I don't mind doing that.
It depends on how many you're starting, right, and what your other situation is at running back. Like I'm a little concerned about losing that potential flex spot because even if let's say Kupp goes to Pittsburgh. Let's say that's worst case scenario, whatever situation where we don't like where Kupp lands. he's still going to be a weekly flex play at worst, like
At worst,
back
yes.
end wide receiver 2 at worst, right? So you have a weekly flex in Kupp, a weekly flex in BTJ. If
That's worst case.
Andy Dalton plays a weekly flex in Deontay, and then Amon-Ra is your wide receiver 1 versus you're getting rid of 2 flexes for AJ Brown, that's great, except where's your depth? So I would like to know, like you said, some of this is roster dependent. I would like to know where your other depth is throughout your roster. But if you have it, then yeah, I like it for
His
AJ.
flex is, it's a 1 running back league. Flex is Mason. And CMC is coming back. So he has CMC. Yeah, like I'm fine going this because these high-end producers are so much more value on redraft. Like they're what we call league breakers.
Agree.
AJ Brown's pushing into league breaker status category. Like I don't mind going for that. Like I love Kupp, but like there's just so much uncertainty with him. You have to knock him a little bit. But like to be real, if Kupp's playing, I'm not gonna have him outside my top 12 wide receivers. Like that's just how I value Kupp. So, and you have Kyron, yeah, dude. Like you have enough depth. Go,
okay.
Just go,
right,
go
get AJ.
Stop bragging on us, my friend. Just go get him.
We submit.
By the way, in Dynasty, I would sell Kyron. Like this is the ideal time to sell Kyron in Dynasty because of all situations and uncertainty. If they trade freaking Stafford and or Kupp, like that nukes everything with there. So just if you have Kyron, you can sell him in Dynasty. I would do that. We're doing it at least 5 times a week, man. We are trying to keep up with it. We appreciate your support, man. We very much do. But yeah, all right, we're going over it out here. I think we're gonna cut this one a little bit for the day. So for myself, for Jerry,
wait,
no,
last one.
No, don't do it. No, fuck CD Lamb. You bench him. You do not pick him up.
For everything you've got, go ahead and get CD Lamb.
I will give you the naming rights to my child for CD Lamb. Let's do that, okay? But on that note, we will call it a day. We are going to be. I think we're doing a ranking show again this week, so I think tomorrow we might be dropping a ranking show. It's tomorrow, Thursday. We haven't decided yet, but we'll be doing the ranking show like we did last week. So we look forward to y'all to join us. So for myself, for Jeremy, for Aaron, the ghost of Aaron, and Essie for joining us, we'll look forward. And if I can find the outro, Bo, before I'm stuttering here. There we go. Got it. All right. See you, folks.